Hi everyone, Denise from Lost City Knits here. Now I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk to you a little bit about sleeves. Now I have 2 sweaters on the needles, and so that means 4 sleeves. They're both at about the same stage. Sleeves, a lot of sleeves. So I weighed my options. Usually when I'm knitting sleeves, I knit on double points. Now double points are a great way to go. I don't have any problem usually with double points. I will say that with stranded knitting, you might end up with runs right here, or gaps, and it might end up with a bit tight when you're switching from needle to needle. Now, both of those are situations that you learn to deal with if you choose to, and they can be overcome and not have any problems. But still, you're knitting one sleeve at a time. Now, I have a sock on the needle right now doing magic loop. Now, I don't usually do magic loop, but that's okay. I really think it works fine. You have one long needle, as you can see, and your sock is on there, and you're constantly shifting the lengths and the loops here. Now, that works fine. And is a good choice. Still, you're only knitting one sleeve at a time, or one sock at a time, then you have a second one. I tend to have a problem with what I call second sleeve syndrome, and you may have heard sock knitters talking about that. So I want to knit 2 sleeves at a time. So in the Peary Leaves jumper by Donna Smith that I talked to you about in the last video, I am knitting 2 sleeves on 2 circular needles, and it works really fine. I knit across both fronts. Here's the wool for one, and here's the wool for 2. I knit across both of the backs, carry the yarn, pick up the next yarn, and this works fine, 2 at a time. It's really a good way to go. Now, I think it works great with solid. But for me, and I did try doing the colorwork sleeves 2 at a time, but with pulling one from the center and one from the outside, and doing that with 2 colors at one time, I found it a little bit irritating and cumbersome. So I decided with my Autumn Colors Fair Owl jumper to do it a little bit different. Now, what I'm doing here is I've cast on, as if I were knitting these flat, the full amount of stitches, a steek, the full amount of the second sleeve stitches, and another steek. Now, that means I am going to have to cut out the sides and graft them together. I've done this before and found I really liked how it worked. The sweater I'm wearing is knit from Handspun, so you can see the sleeves match really well. I did them 2 at a time with steeks, and I think the color, you can catch that it comes across beautifully. If I move my arms like this, you can see the delicate shifts in colors, and the sleeves are almost identical. It works really well. I'm going to move the camera and show you just a little bit closer look at the sleeves for Autumn Colors Fair Owl and where the steeks are. Okay, so what we're looking at here is, this is where I cast on. I did a provisional cast on and started with the first chart, and I will come back and add the ribbing down here. You can see that I've put in my initials in the year so that I know when I'm going to finish this. It's going to be done. This steek right here is where everything begins. Now, you can see my markers here for beginning of round, and I begin my round in the middle of those 7 stitches, which are the steek bridge. I'm going to work across one sleeve flat. I'm going to find the come to the second steek, and work across the second sleeve, returning to my beginning of round. Now I'm going to keep going like that. My increases are alongside every steek edge. And what I've done on the inside, you can see that I've got a lot of ends right there. I didn't weave them in as I went, and I didn't spit splice. Now on the wave cardigan that I knit earlier last year, I used a method of just tying knots. You can see one here. See that knot? Now this was recommended to me by Hazel Tyndall as the way that she likes to do color changes in a steek zone. And I found I really liked it. I simply, whenever I cut the steeks, I'll come back and I'll trim those. I'll make sure the knot is really good and tight. I'll trim those. I will cut up the steek, and then I will pick up and graft this to the other side and graft this sleeve together, and it will have a seam at the bottom of my sleeve, running up the inside of my arm when it's being worn. Now I think this is going to work out great. I really enjoyed it in the yellow sweater, and I think this may be my new favorite way to do sleeves. I'll come back in a couple of weeks and I'll show you the actual cutting of the steeks and where I'm seaming them up.